Hello, good morning, my dear grandchildren. This is your Ah-Gung speaking, and to my great grandchildren, this is your Tai-Gung speaking. This is Tai-Gung, not Tai-Kung. Tai-Kung is outer space in Mandarin. Okay, today is the 25th of February 2021. Tomorrow is my birthday. Okay, good boys, good girls, you're wishing me happy birthday. Thank you very much. Alright, the last video we actually spoke about the basic concept of OOP, Object-Oriented Programming, and we actually had a glimpse of what is happening behind the scene, and ended up with a screen that was cluttered with many buttons, not very aesthetic. So in this video, we are going to make it look better. Now, if you recall, Unity is about game objects, right? And every game object comes with a transform component, or rather comes with components, and each component has attributes, right? So for example, transform component has attributes of position, rotation, and scale, and we can actually manipulate those values with the use of codes. So here, to make it better, look better, we are going to have a proper player sprite. Alright, this sprite you can download from Unity Asset Store. Is for free. Of course, you want to have better looking ones, you pay lah. Fair one. Alright, so just to revise, you see here transform component with all the attributes, and then I have a script that is attached to the player, and of course I add the box collider component with the green lines that you see here, and a rigid body component to apply physics to the game object. Okay, and here I have made a game object that is childed to this player game object, and reason being, we want to confine all the pictorial stuff, pictures and all this, to this game object, so that let's say tomorrow or sometime in the future I want to change the graphics, I just need to change the sprite renderer component here. See, okay, just change the image without having to change the rest of the associated components, okay, like scripts and stuff like that. All right, if that makes sense to you lah. Okay, so having said that, now is about moving the sprite. Okay, one thing to note is if let's say for example right now I play, and wait for it to compile. Now you see it drop, right? Because physics is being applied to the game object. Now to prevent that from happening, we need to add another game object, okay, which basically is another sprite. Okay, and then we need to add a box collider 2D component, so that the object won't fall through the screen. And then we have to make sure that its trigger is not checked, because if it's checked, the game object will fall through. Okay, just to show you, check this, and I play. Right, fall through. Uncheck. Play. Okay, it stays. Right, it stays. Okay, so there's one way to make sure that the game object does not fall through the screen. Okay, next is to make the game object move, and that will be done through the script. And this is my script. Okay, simple script. Alright, as usual, we need to have a reference to the rigid body of the game object. Okay, thereafter we need to grab the component using this command, and then after having done that, we can do our magic. Alright, now movements left and right along the x-axis. There are a couple of ways to do it now. Okay, first you can use this line of code here. But then again, the problem is if you use this, it seems to consume CPU power. Meaning even if the game object is stationary, you can see the movement, right? I don't quite understand the physics behind it now, but when I tested it, it seems to be using CPU power. And one of the things that game development or game developers should take note of is the usage of CPU power, because if users later download your game, it will consume their battery in the mobile phone. Alright, so I have chosen not to use this method. Instead, I have chosen to isolate the movement to left and right. Okay, now moving game object, there are again multiple ways of doing it. So one of the ways is to use this command called transform.translate, and then you determine the speed. Okay, time.delta time is to make sure that it moves smoothly. Okay, to put it very simply. Right, another way of making a game object move is to add velocity, add force, okay, to the rigid game object, to the rigid body. Okay, the difference being, if you use transform.translate, alright, the game object will stop when the key is released. When you use this other method, okay, adding force to the rigid body, when the key is released, the game object take a bit of time to stop completely. Alright, I'll show you later, okay? So close this script. Okay, play again. Now when I move right now, the method used was to add force to the rigid body. See, it takes a while. It's kind of a slide. Okay, when I move left, I'm using the transform.translate method. See, when you release, it stops. Right, it stops immediately. Okay, right. See, this sliding. Move left, it stops immediately. Okay, so that's for movement left and right. Okay, next is to jump. Okay, to jump. Alright, there jump itself is quite an interesting thing lah. Of course, when I started the script, I make it jump indefinitely. Alright, so in order to actually control the number of jumps that the player can have, I actually use some other commands. Like I say, this video is not meant to be a tutorial, right? It's meant for me to share my game dev journey with my dear descendants. So it'll be a quick run through lah. So to cut the long story short, the jump script, okay, or rather the jump method is here, right? So to control the number of jumps, I actually have this variable here, okay, number of jumps and max jumps. Okay, so I've set the max jumps to 2, and I can change it later lah in the inspector when I want it to have more. Alright, so having said that, let's see how it is. Okay, 1, 2, I cannot jump. 3, okay. Why? Because I've set the, where's my script? Okay, I set the maximum number of jumps to 3. So if I change it to 2, okay, only 1, 2, cannot jump anymore. Okay, so if I set it to, let's say 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so set it back to 2. Alright, okay, another thing you noticed was, hold on, okay, the game object can actually jump off the screen. So to prevent that from happening, we can again create an empty game object. Call it a top buffer. Okay, add a box. Sorry, I just had breakfast. 2D collider. Okay, move it on top and then stretch it. Okay, save it. See, cannot jump anymore. Okay, there's one way of restricting the movement of your player game object without going through code. Alright, actually when coding, there's a part of cyber security element that we have to be mindful of. And the rule of the thumb is the lesser the code, the better. Alright, and if the code can be shared, then share the code. Okay, don't have to repeat the code again, reinvent the wheel, so to speak. And because of this, it actually sparked my interest for other domains related to game development, cybersecurity being one. And of course, there's AI and cloud computing and so on and so forth. So I'm actually taking courses with IBM Academy to learn more about the other domains relating to game development. Alright, so that's it for today. I will see you again. Bye.